Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining me tonight for a conversation about Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. We are live today because the Supreme Court issued a decision about DACA this morning that was a victory for our clients, our communities, and our country. My name is Nicole Iraola, and I'm an Ohio Access to Justice Foundation Justice for All Fellow at Advocates for Basic Legal Equality, or ABLE. I'm here today to celebrate the victory and to help explain what the decision means for DACA recipients. I want to start by thanking each and every person who has shown bravery and courage in their fight to stay in the country they call home. I'm here to share some helpful information for anyone hoping to better understand the Supreme Court DACA decision. The Supreme Court issued their decision earlier today. I've had a chance to review it, and I'm here to discuss. Before we get started, I want to mention a few things. You can post any questions you have in the comment box. I'll try to answer them as I go, but I might not be able to get to them until the end. I will try to answer as many questions as possible with general information, and you can call us to apply for more specific legal assistance after the session. I will provide general legal information about DACA only. It is not legal advice, and you should be aware that information regarding the Supreme Court decision and its interpretation continues to evolve. This is simply an initial look at the decision. The information we are providing is current as of today, June 18th, 2020. I want to remind you that we received the decision only this morning and want to provide you with information and to answer any questions you may have. However, because this decision is so new, I might not have answers to every question. We will provide updates regarding the decision's implementation as they become available. You may need help from an attorney. There's a link in the comments with a map of ABLE's service area. If you live in one of the highlighted counties, you may apply for help by calling 419-930-2555. If you do not live in one of our counties, but you live in Ohio, please visit immigration.ablelaw.org to find our listing of Ohio nonprofit immigration legal service providers in our Preparing Your Family for Immigration Enforcement Know Your Rights book. You also may call us anytime for a referral. To start, I'm going to discuss the origins of DACA and move on to discuss what today's decision means for current and future DACA recipients. In 2012, President Obama issued an executive order that directed the Department of Homeland Security to defer immigration enforcement for certain individuals who had been brought to the United States as children and who posed no danger to the United States. DACA was designed to protect these individuals from deportation. DACA was created for people who were brought to the United States as children, under age 16, and who have earned a high school diploma or GED, and who have no criminal record. For the vast majority of these individuals, the U.S. is the only home they've ever known. It's important to note that DACA did not grant any permanent immigration status to DACA recipients, but it gave them safety and temporary protection from deportation. DACA allowed hundreds of thousands of individuals a chance to work, drive, live with increased security and protection from deportation. Current estimates are that Ohio is home to between 3,500 and 4,000 DACA recipients who were brought here at an average age of 7 years old. An estimated 7,000 Ohioans share a household with DACA recipients. An estimated 1,600 U.S. citizen children in Ohio alone have parents who are DACA recipients. I share these numbers with you to help give a better idea of just how many people have been directly affected by DACA. These numbers give a small look at the number of Ohioans who will be immediately impacted by this Supreme Court decision, not to mention the number of jobs, communities, and people who rely on DACA recipients to make our country run every day. During the COVID-19 pandemic, hundreds of thousands of DACA recipients have been working to protect the health and safety of Americans as the country confronts the coronavirus. We have been relying on DACA recipients in virtually every field of work. DACA recipients are serving in the front lines everywhere, whether it's in hospitals, nursing homes, restaurants, as teachers, attorneys, doctors, nurses, and in all other essential businesses. There are DACA recipients serving in the military, ensuring the safety and security of the country they love. Not only are they protecting us through their labor as essential workers during these uncertain times, but they're also taxpayers who contribute millions of dollars to our economies through payroll taxes, property taxes, and sales taxes. I want to mention that DACA recipients have been awaiting this decision during an unprecedented period of uncertainty. And I want to acknowledge that this great news would not be possible without the bravery and perseverance of DACA recipients. This week marked 8 years since DACA was created. In 2017, President Trump announced that he would be rescinding DACA and ending protections for an estimated 650,000 DACA recipients. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the fall of 2019 to determine two main issues. First, whether it had the authority to review President Trump's order, and second, whether the decision to rescind DACA was lawful. Today, June 18th, 2020, the Supreme Court held 5-4 that the Trump administration acted improperly in the way it terminated DACA, and it sent the case back to the Department of Homeland Security for further action. This means that DACA will remain in place for the foreseeable future, which is great news. Before discussing whether DACA was properly rescinded, Chief Justice Roberts rejected the Trump administration's argument that the decision was unreviewable. The Trump administration had argued that the decision to rescind DACA was an agency decision within the agency's discretion, and therefore was not subject to the court's review. Because DACA falls outside of this narrow exception, the Supreme Court was able to then turn to the central question in the case. So the central question here was whether the Trump administration followed the proper procedures in terminating DACA. Under federal law, the court looked to whether the agency made its decision based on a consideration of the relevant factors and whether there has been a clear error of judgment. The majority of the justices found that the decision to rescind DACA did not meet this standard. This means that the reasons provided by the 2017 memorandum rescinding DACA were not valid justifications, and that DACA must be reinstated to its original form. The court today found that the reasons the Trump administration provided were arbitrary and capricious, which is legalese for without adequate justification. I want to emphasize that the court did not decide whether DACA or its rescission are lawful policies. Instead, the court today only determined that the Department of Homeland Security did not comply with the requirements for the reasoned explanation of its action. The solution given by the court today has sent the issue back to the Department of Homeland Security for reconsideration, and if it tries to rescind the program again, it will need to provide a different explanation. So, while we are thrilled with today's decision, we know the fight isn't over. Today's decision is limited to the way the Trump administration ended DACA in 2017. The court found that it did not provide a reasonable explanation for ending DACA, and the future remains to be seen. So now, I encourage you to celebrate today's victory and recharge to continue the fight tomorrow for immigrant rights. Today's decision was only possible because of the bravery of our neighbors and friends from across the immigration spectrum. People who are documented, undocumented, and their supporters. This was won by our communities and by those who have remained strong, resilient, and unshakable in their fight for justice. Tomorrow, I encourage you to use this victory to motivate you to continue fighting for comprehensive immigration reform for the whole community. We will continue to provide updates on the decision and its implementation here on our Facebook page. Thank you and have a good night.